I'm Miranda Wallace, Senior Curator of International Exhibition Projects here at the NGV. And on behalf of the National Gallery of Victoria, I am delighted that you could all join us for this very special conversation between our fashion artists, Viktor Horsting and Rolf Snoeren, and our exhibition's curator, Thierry-Maxime Loriot. May I start by acknowledging the first and continuing custodians of the land on which we're gathered, the Wurundjeri and Boonwurrung of the Kulin Nation. Tonight, we warmly welcome our generous supporters of the Fashion Artists exhibition. Principal partner Bank of Melbourne is joined by major partner Vogue, major supporters Waitang and Ki Wong, partners L'Oreal Australia and Chadstone, media partners Adshel, Smooth FM and Broadsheet, and event partner Earing Station, all of whom have contributed to bring this exhibition to life. We also thank Space Furniture for kindly providing tonight's stage furniture. I would like to welcome you all here as our guests, along with members of the NGV Council of Trustees, NGV Foundation, NGV members and supporters of the gallery. And we are live streaming this event on the NGV YouTube channel, and I also welcome our online viewers to the conversation. Each of you will have found on your seat a gift pack, courtesy of the Bank of Melbourne. Inside, you will find your ticket to the Viktor&Rolf exhibition, and you're welcome to use that tonight after the conversation or at any time that the exhibition is open. And it's on until the 26th of February, but I'm sure that once you've seen the exhibition, you'll want to come back more than once, so maybe use it soon and see how, and you'll be coming back many times. Following tonight's conversation, we welcome you to a book signing with Viktor&Rolf in NGV's Federation Court, next to the entrance to the exhibition. This evening's conversation marks the opening of Viktor&Rolf Fashion Artists, an exhibition that showcases the spectacular and avant-garde creations of Viktor&Rolf. And in tonight's context, I'm sure that Viktor&Rolf probably require very little introduction. I suspect that many of you are already ardent admirers of their conceptual couture. Viktor&Rolf occupy a singular position in the world of contemporary fashion. Over the nearly 25 years of their collaboration, Viktor&Rolf have created a body of work that is at once critical, witty, cerebral, beautiful, spectacular, and visionary. Much of their work occupies an ambivalent space between art and fashion. Experiencing their work in the art museum context not only allows a wider audience to experience their work in person, but also provides time and space for a deeper appreciation and understanding of their creative project. And if anyone still questions the role and place of fashion in the art museum, I firmly believe that this exhibition will provide unequivocal proof that fashion, especially when approached with the conceptual rigour and creative vision of Viktor&Rolf, belongs very much here in the art museum. The exhibition presents some of the most extraordinary works Viktor&Rolf have created across this 25-year period, from their first prize-winning collection from 1993 through to their most recent couture show, Vagabonds, which was presented in Paris just last July. The exhibition itself has been approached like an art installation, and Viktor&Rolf have been involved in every aspect of the project, from the selection of works to the design of the exhibition space, which includes custom-made wallpaper and tapestries, as well as an artwork specially commissioned for the exhibition, an automaton clock that regularly performs a miniature couture fashion show called Timepiece. We'll hear all about this and more tonight in our conversation, which is going to be led by the exhibition's curator, Thierry-Maxime Loriot. And it's been my pleasure to work closely with Thierry over the past year to develop Viktor&Rolf Fashion Artists. Thierry has worked in the international fashion industry for more than 20 years. He curated the Montreal Museum of Fine Arts exhibition, The Fashion World of Jean-Paul Gaultier, which many of you, I'm sure, saw when it was here in Melbourne in 2014. This groundbreaking exhibition only recently completed an extraordinarily successful international tour, having been seen by more than 2 million people in 12 cities around the world. Thierry brings to his curatorial work not only a deep appreciation for the creative vision of fashion designers, but also extensive experience of the business of fashion, the world of fashion runways, magazines and luxury brands, of art direction, styling and fashion photography. This project, our exhibition, has been driven by Thierry's great admiration and respect for the work of Viktor&Rolf, and his dedication to the project has been really extraordinary, and we have been so happy to work with him. I'm sure that you're all very keen to hear from our guests of honour, so without further ado, please join me in welcoming Thierry to the stage, who will also welcome Viktor&Rolf. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. How are you? That's it? Okay, again, how are you tonight? Good. That's what I want to hear. This is good. How do you like my jacket? You know how lucky I am, first to be in Melbourne with this super fashion crowd. Are you all happy to have Viktor&Rolf in town? Yeah? It's good, huh? But this, thanks to NGV, because without NGV, you wouldn't have the possibility to have shows of this international level presented in Melbourne. Many people think, oh, it's not the first, but this show, it's the first time that 25 years of work is gathered together with loans from all over the planet just for you. And it's initiated and produced by NGV, so you're really the first one to see the exhibition. Did any of you saw the exhibition already, or not? Oh, I hope you'll all go, right? Yeah? Do you? You're very quiet tonight. You know that there's like a 15-minute period of questions at the end, so I hope you have prepared questions. Did you? Yes. Again, did you prepare questions? Wow, good, good, good. For this exhibition, it was such a pleasure to work with NGV. Many of you, and I recognize familiar faces in the audience that I've seen during the talk with Jean-Paul Gaultier and during the opening events and during the exhibition. It was such a thrill to work with the NGV team. They always make the magic happen, and that's what is great about this institution. They also have a fantastic costume collection, and by the way, if any of you wants to become friends of the costume collection, you know, you can register. I hope you're all members of the museum. Please. Oh, I'm spreading the message now. So no, because they're really great, and you really need to support this institution. I was quite surprised the first time. You know, I came here. I won't speak for long. Don't worry, they're gonna come. But I just want to say some things because you know, I came here 20 years ago for the first time, and you know, when I came back, I was really happy to present the Gaultier exhibition and now to work again with them. But I discovered the collection of costume that they have, and you know, other cities like New York, Paris, and London, you know, the Met Museum and the V&A, everybody always talk about their collection, how fantastic they are, but the collection you have here is incredible, incredible international level. And now I must say it's even better because Viktor&Rolf generously gifted a fantastic piece from their cutting-edge couture. You'll see it's a cocoon dress in yellow that you can see in the exhibition. So now I need your help to welcome everyone, please. So I tried it yesterday. Did anyone was here yesterday for the opening? Yeah? Oh, okay, so you know what I'm gonna do. So, okay, so when I say Victor, you say Rolf, okay? Right? Okay, Victor? Rolf. Victor? Rolf. Louder, please. Victor? Rolf. Victor? Rolf. Rolf? Rolf? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Viktor&Rolf. They're like rock stars to me, so you know, there's not so many who work with two names like this, so I'm sorry guys, but I really had to do this again for you.
You're forgiven.
Yeah. Are you happy to be in Melbourne?
Extremely.
Yeah?
Yeah, what's not to be happy about? I mean...
It's worth the long trip, but thank you all for coming. It's very exciting to be here tonight. I have so many questions to ask you guys, so be ready. Huh? Good? Good. So, for those who haven't seen the exhibition, Viktor&Rolf, they're Dutch. Does everybody know that? No, I'm joking.
Again? We're going to have a serious conversation, right?
Okay, let's make it serious. No, you know, many people, I think it's very important to make these exhibitions. I think it's very inspiring. You know, Viktor&Rolf, they come from the Netherlands, I mean, small cities that were not necessarily linked to fashion. And for anybody who knows the Netherlands, it's not known for fashion. Let's say, they know cheese and they know fashion Dutch clogs. So, no, but it's true, right?
It's very true, yeah. Especially when we were young, there was hardly anything going on. There's no industry, there's no media, so the idea to become a fashion designer was kind of foreign.
But how was it to grow up in the Netherlands, because your parents were not in the fashion industry, you had no friends in the fashion industry whatsoever. How were you, each of you, as kids?
Quite introvert. I was usually sketching in my own room or reading. Introvert.
Yeah, I think I was the same. I liked solitary things. I liked to read. I liked to draw. I was not antisocial, but I just could keep myself company very well. I still can. And
how did you become interested in fashion?
I think the spark was perfume advertising. I mean, this is the 80s, right? So there's no internet and there was nothing on television. So maybe I would occasionally see a magazine. And perfume ads were something magical, something really mysterious. So that inspired me, yes.
I think fashion was still, as a child, a bit complicated. I didn't really understand what it was. But like Victor, I was transported by beauty images.
And then this is actually kind of funny because twice a year there would be a TV program on national TV, a German TV program, dedicated to the shows in Paris. So this would be in the TV guide. So weeks before I would think, oh my God, this program is going to be on. But can you imagine, twice a year for 45 minutes, the shows, the Parisian shows, and that was it.
And what was playing in these shows? Was it like the Paris fashion shows? All
yeah, like all the great names of that time: Montana, Mugler, Comme des Garçons.
And which ones were inspiring you back then? Like, it's probably in your teenage years that you thought, oh, maybe because when you're from the Netherlands, do you think fashion can actually be a job? Because fashion, you once told me, fashion in the Netherlands is considered a hobby. It was, no, but it's true. Even in many places, people think that fashion, it's not an actual job. Even my parents were thinking that. It happens. And probably yours too. Were they surprised? Were they supportive, your parents, when you said, oh, I'm going to go study fashion?
Yes, my parents were supportive. Yes, yeah.
Yes, they were supportive. Maybe they didn't understand, but they were like, if you want to do that, then please go ahead. And
Because then they met at the Haarlem Academy of Arts, which is another city in the Netherlands, which is famous because Audrey Hepburn studied there during war. You played violin, so you thought of maybe going to the conservatory to study violin, but then ended up in fashion. And you met at the entrance exam, if I'm correct?
We met at the entrance exam, and we became really good friends from the start when we were in the same class.
So we studied together for 4 years.
But then you couldn't work together in school?
No, the studies, the education was individual.
But then how this all happens, when you work together? Because in school, what were you learning mostly? Was it like sketching, patterns?
Yeah, the education is very conceptual, right? Very conceptual, very
I think we felt as well that we didn't learn so much from our teachers. So we just go to each other and discuss each other's work.
And there was a technical part that was quite well developed. So we were taught how to execute what we were designing.
And what was your favorite part of the studies?
What was your favorite part?
For me, it was because I came to art school because I wanted to be an illustrator. So whatever had to do with drawing and illustrating was always my favorite.
And he was really, I mean, he still is a fantastic illustrator. We would have an assignment, and everybody would have like 5, 6 drawings, and Rolf would have 125 drawings and cover all the hallways in the school. So I remember that to this day, yes.
Yeah. In fact, both of them are really good drawers. You'll see in the exhibition, they created a fantastic wallpaper. They gave us complete access to their archives, almost 25 years, would say 20, 25 years of
yeah, we try to keep everything.
Yeah, they keep everything. They have mint archives with everything. It was such a pleasure to work with them. And they created this fantastic wallpaper, which in fact gives you almost a backstage access to haute couture and the process of them. So you'll see it's even on sale at the shop. It's not like I seem like I'm trying to sell something. Membership, wallpaper. I'm going to talk about the catalog later, okay? And then, so you finish school. What do you do when you're a student in fashion in Haarlem and you graduate?
You become unemployed. Yeah, that's the way it was. And at a certain point we realized that we needed to kick ourselves in the butt and do something. And that's when we decided to move to Paris, just to try something.
And what did you do in Paris when you arrived?
Well, we decided once we were in Paris, we tried both to get a job. And it was, at the time, very difficult, even to get internships. Or maybe we didn't even try so hard, I don't know. But
I think we tried pretty hard.
We decided to enter a design contest, the biggest one in Europe, just because we thought it would be good to get to know the people who were in the jury and maybe get an internship like that. And we won the first prize, and people automatically thought that we wanted to become a brand, and which was not at all the case. But
yeah, we saw it as a networking opportunity, really, and of course as a reason to start working to make a collection together, which we had wanted to do for a long time.
But then, you know, even by winning a prize, did you have any idea on how the fashion system was working, or you were were you aware of it? Is it something that was taught in school, how to enter the fashion system?
Not at all. No, we were very naive. Yeah.
I remember the first years we were working, and when we were showing our work, we would complain that nobody would come and see it. Afterwards, we were thinking, well, but we didn't have a press agent. We had nobody, you know, who was getting our work out into the world. But it never occurred to us. We were always just working on our stuff. Yeah.
Because even one funny story they told me is when they tell everyone when you won the award, because they were saying everybody was so prepared. You know, they had the name, they had labels, they had everything.
Yeah, the contest in Hier, all the participants were wanting to be very professional, and they were in a way. So they all had a label and a name, and they were selling and whatever. And we didn't have anything. But then we won all these prizes, and they had to call us on stage. So they didn't. They just said Viktor&Rolf won the prize. So it was, well, the name stuck.
They became Viktor&Rolf after winning the prize, so it's quite, it's true.
Yeah, that's the way it's going.
And what was the prize that you won? What was coming with the prize? Was other things coming with it?
Well, we won there were three prizes. We won them, and they were each a palm tree. So at the end, we just were standing on stage with 3 palm trees.
But okay, now that we're at it, let's not forget the 5,000, 100,000. It was very funny because the mayor of the city, he came on stage and he announced in French that we had won 5,000 whatever francs, and we thought 100,000, but it was 5,000. But it's a southern accent. So.
And we never got it, by the way. So.
By the way.
You never got it. No.
But of course, the great thing about winning a contest like that, for us, was to be introduced into the fashion system, the fashion world, because we also won the support of a press agent, Sylvie Grambach, and we got to know a lot of people. So that was really the start of everything for us. And what was also very important was that we won it. We were living in Paris, and it was the first time that we realized that fashion is a serious enterprise. It's not a hobby. And in Paris, it doesn't matter if you only do one collection. We were taken seriously. This was a very important change in perception of ourselves.
But then were you also trying to get internships in fashion houses? Was it something that you were aspiring to work with other designers?
I think we immediately decided to just start for ourselves. And the first years we had hardly any...
No, it was also a matter of money. We couldn't afford to intern for free.
But
so
when we look back at it, those first years that were kind of difficult and nobody noticed, they formed us, and they were very important years.
Because who were your fashion heroes during those years?
I'd say Margiela. Margiela was very big then. Comme des Garçons, always. But yeah, ultimately we're not the... We don't really have these icons on a high pedestal, to be honest.
You had Yves Saint Laurent, I think.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Because he was not just a designer of clothing. There's this entire brand that was created around his name.
With the perfumes that were very... something that you like to develop. Because you went once, I think, to meet Yves Saint Laurent.
Yeah, so we had hoped to meet him. But we met the directrice de studio, so the lady who was in charge of the studio. And then we were showing our work to her, and I think that's the first time in my life I saw a French manicure. She had these perfect nails, I'll never forget it. Really beautiful. And we were showing our work, and then all of a sudden we heard like something whispering, and there was the phone. And she picked up the phone, and she said, Monsieur Saint Laurent has arrived, you have to leave. So.
Wow, so you never worked for Saint Laurent then?
No, unfortunately not.
Because
but he's still a hero.
Yeah. But then, you know, you started to do more conceptual work. How were you living? Did you have any small jobs which could finance, in fact, your conceptual fashion that you were already starting to develop?
I didn't hear it.
We had several assignments. We would make money just doing the odd jobs, freelancing. And we were also helped by the Dutch government. They have a system of giving grants to talented young people, young designers, young artists. So combined, that enabled us to continue our work. Yeah.
Okay, but from after winning you started to do some very conceptual exhibitions and presentation. They were really, that's one thing that I found that was really interesting about Viktor&Rolf. You know, many people were asking me, what are you going to do after Gautier? But for me, Viktor&Rolf, you know, they really cross the boundaries between what is art and what is fashion. And I think you do it quite well, because in your first years, you did the appearance of the Void, and then you did launch in art galleries. You presented a lot of your work in art galleries. Why did you do so?
Why did we do so? Well, the art world seemed to respond much more and much sooner than the fashion world. In our minds, we were fashion designers. We're trained as fashion designers. Our work is always about fashion, but somehow we were not able to enter the fashion system. And the work we were making found a response in the art world. So we were invited to participate in exhibitions. And so for a couple of years, that is where we were working. But then after, let's say, a year or 5, we decided that we wanted to focus ourselves more, that we were losing focus a little bit.
Because in the exhibition, you'll see between the first and the second gallery, you'll see different conceptual work from Viktor&Rolf, for example, the appearance of the Void, in which can you tell us about this and about the soundtrack, because it's a sound piece that is quite interesting.
Okay, yeah. It's hard for me to hear. we made a soundtrack in 1995.
Yeah.
About, well, it was the height of the supermodel craze, and we made a collection all about superficiality. And apart from the clothes that were on display, there was this soundtrack of a class of school children reciting the names of all the supermodels as learning the ABC.
And it's kind of great that you can hear it here, because it's hardly ever shown anywhere. So I'm glad
it's your mother.
It's my mother, yes. My mother used to be, yeah, well, she was a school teacher.
So she recorded it in the class. That's cute, no? And then also there's Le Parfum, which was almost like a prophetic vision of your future when you did this.
Yeah, it's like the book The Secret, but then avant la lettre, yeah. Yeah, we were invited to make to do an exhibition in a small gallery. And at the moment when we had the feeling our career was at a low, we didn't know what to do, nothing was happening. So we said to ourselves, okay, if nothing is happening, then let's pretend for a while that our ambitions are becoming a reality. And then what are those ambitions? So let's visualize what it is, how we would like our reality to look like. So we made all these installations about being a successful fashion designer. Like there was a doll, and we were using dolls at the time. So there was a doll in a photo studio, there was a doll in a shop, and there was a perfume. There was a perfume stand with an advertising image and perfume bottles, but you couldn't open them. And it's called Le Parfum, and it's on display here.
And I think it's at this same exhibition that you met two very important persons in your career and very influential also, Ines and Vinood.
This was a different exhibition, but
yeah, it's around the same time that you met.
Yeah, about the same time we met them, and we were both, all the four of us are Dutch, but we never met before. And since then we've been always working very closely.
Because even during your first shows, because those 5 years for you, you always refer to them as years that were very helpful when you look back, you know, to construct and to build what you are doing now. How do you, you know, from being designers who don't work to, how do you jump and say, okay, I'm doing not ready to wear, haute couture? You know, you start at the top of the pyramid. How did you decide to present your first couture collection?
Yeah, jump, a leap of faith. Well, like I was saying before, feeling we were drifting away, that we were unfocused. We were showing in galleries and museums, and we were working in all kinds of different media, but we were always thinking about fashion. The work was always about fashion. And at a certain point, we just said to each other, like, we need to focus more. What can we do? And then we realized that couture would be the perfect environment for us because it represents the top of the pyramid. And we said to ourselves, okay, if we can work at the top of the pyramid, then the rest will follow, hopefully.
We never had a business plan, but we always thought, well, let's start at the top, and you can always go down, but you can never, you can never go up.
And how were you prepared to do this first collection? Did you have a team? Who was with you?
Well,
okay,
it was
so
us.
No
Yeah.
seamstresses. You did everything.
No,
yourself.
it was really, when you, in hindsight, yeah, it was just the two of us. And while developing the collection, we gathered friends and people who helped us. But no, on a shoestring. Really.
I remember after the first couture collection, I said to Victor, this is not possible, we can't do it another time, because it was just too much.
And how did you learn to...
And then Victor said, no, let's...
Oh yeah, that I remember very well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, no.
I was ready to quit after one season.
Because then you had moved back to Amsterdam.
Yeah, we started couture after moving back to Amsterdam. We'd lived in Paris for 3 years, and it was a great experience. But we were mainly working for ourselves, so it was easier for us not to be in Paris because, yeah, just to be at home made it easier to work.
And why do you prefer to be in, because most of the designers, they either live in Milan, in Paris, in London, in New York. Why do you still live in, you still have your atelier in Amsterdam? Why did you decide to stay in Amsterdam rather than a fashion capital?
Yes. I think we noticed when we lived in Paris, we were always working at home. We hardly ever went out. We are not very social. So we were thinking, why not make it ourselves a bit easier? We just present everything we do in Paris, but we live in Amsterdam. It's just easier for us.
So we still do, so that's why we call Paris our fashion home.
Yeah. And you're not inspired by fashion also, I must say.
We're very well aware of fashion history, but we are not ones to follow trends, no.
No, that's something we notice. Even if camouflage or pink is trendy one season, because you always have these marketing companies who predict the trends. It's something they never follow. Pretty much all the work you'll see in the exhibition is reference-free of everything. You cannot even date the pieces, and I think it's one thing that is very unique. You cannot say, oh, this piece is very early 90s or this is very early 2000. Impossible to date anything, so you'll discover this. But the atelier, so you did this first collection, then you don't have an atelier, you don't have anything. When did you start to work with an atelier to learn how it was working? It's not something they taught you in school, that you couldn't do everything by yourself?
No, just school never really educated us about what it means to have a company or what it means to delegate. It was purely artistic, our education. So everything afterwards we had to develop ourselves.
Finding an atelier was for us the most easy because we know how to make things, so we could control that. I think it was the business part that was very difficult for us. We just had no clue.
And then you started to build, to have some seamstresses and a premier d'atelier, Martin, who was here to install the exhibition. You've worked with him since the Blacklight collection, right?
Yes, for a very long time. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And then you did five extraordinary couture collections from the end of the 90s until the early 2000s. One of them being Russian doll. We're just going to watch a little clip. You'll see it's quite impressive, and we're going to discuss a little bit after it. You can watch on the screens. when you enter the exhibition, you can see the whole collection. It hasn't been exhibited many times, but you have it here, so please enjoy it. Can you tell us about this collection? I think it was so fantastic. It's the first time that I've noticed your work when I saw this show, because the whole planet was talking about it, because the American model Maggie Reiser arrived on stage in a little jute dress, which is not couture material at all. And then she was revolving, and what you don't see in the video that is incredible is that Viktor and Rolf were coming with layers and layers of beautiful couture clothes, sometimes embroidered with Swarovski crystals, and just layering them, and she looked like a Russian doll, which is the title of the collection. And at the end, she was just this giant babushka with 70 kilos of clothes on her. Can you tell us how you wanted to develop this collection? Because you often used one model also in the Shalom collection. How do you work from your concept? Because I think you mostly start, you know, to the opposite of many designers who will go with trends and color palettes and patterns. You start with the idea of the show most of the time.
Yes, most of the time we'll have an idea about everything in one go. So the presentation, the type of clothing, the clothes are like actors in a play. This was our 4th couture collection, and I think we wanted to say something about couture itself. We wanted the show to be a bit like a ritual.
And about extreme beauty, about beauty that can be enjoyed just by watching at it, instead of always thinking how to sell it. People are always thinking, well, people were usually asking us, well, for who is it, and what's the price? But sometimes beauty can just be enjoyed. You can watch at things, and that's a big luxury. So we wanted to take that to an extreme and make something just for one person and make it completely not sellable, not wearable.
So it was really an ode to beauty. Okay.
And I must say, to be honest, that the show before, we were complaining that the models were so expensive. So as a joke, we said, oh, maybe we could do it on one model.
At least you had a very
And
good
afterwards it came a different story.
Yeah. Because how do you work together? It's quite unusual to have 2 designers. What is the process? I've seen you working, you have this big table, but then, like, how do you come up with your ideas? Is it an exchange? Do you show each other sketches that you do each on your side? How do you create together?
We've known each other for such a long time, and yes, we share an office, we share a table, so everything is combined. Everything we do is combined, but it's basically, the basis is the fact that we're best friends and we're sharing our lives to a certain extent. And our work is a result of that. So it's like an ongoing conversation. We started talking when we were 18, 19, and we're still talking, fortunately. So
It has intensified since there's WhatsApp.
Yeah.
So it's WhatsApps all day long.
And in 2000, you decided to try the adventure of ready-to-wear. Why? Was it part of your the secret plan to do ready-to-wear?
Well, it was part of the idea of, we had this idea what you should be doing when you're a big brand. So it was kind of cerebral, but there was not really the strong desire to do it. We thought that that's just the way you do it. It's like, okay, that's how you do it. Plus we had done a couple of couture shows. We needed to make a living. So it was kind of logical when someone approached us and offered to start developing ready-to-wear. We thought it was a logical evolution. And also we had no experience, so we had no idea what that really entailed.
And I think from the beginning it was a very difficult way for us to work. Working with factories, sending sketches, everything became so virtual, whereas we really work more as sculptors. We need to see clothes on a model, really shape it and work on it. It is very difficult sending drawings.
Because in many of your collections, for example, in the exhibition, everything you see is couture, but most of the time in many of their ready-to-wear collections, Viktor&Rolf were incorporating couture pieces that were made in your atelier.
Yes. Yeah,
Why
all the ready-to-wear shows would always have a part of couture that we would make in our own studio, because through the couture we could express the ideas in a more clear and extreme way than through ready-to-wear.
So what did you learn from ready-to-wear?
Time management.
So you did it until 2015. Then you went back to haute couture with the Zen Garden Collection that you'll see in the first gallery also of the exhibition. Why did you decide to do this return to haute couture?
Because that's our big love, and we feel that that is what we are best at, and that is how we can and want to make a difference.
Do you think you can be conceptual and commercial at the same time?
Well, it's a balancing act. It's not easy, but it can be done. Our fragrance is a good example. The fragrance was created with the same intention as, well, the Russian doll show or everything that's in the exhibition. And the fragrance is a worldwide success. So it's great. It means that it can be done, yeah.
And speaking of your fragrance, since it was the first thing that, opened you the doors to fashion as kids with the advertising, I think you were telling me about the Dior and the Chanel No. 5 advertising. How did you develop these fragrances? Were you very involved in developing perfume? Was it something important for you to have perfumes?
Extremely important. So we are very much involved. So we come up with the name, sketches for the bottle, the packaging. What we heard is that the way of working for us is very different. Usually the name comes at the very last moment. We just cannot smell or think of a perfume without knowing the name and without knowing what to smell.
You're now a global brand. Do you consider, in fact, that all your work and the work that we see in the exhibition, do you consider when you created them that it was almost self-expression? Do you create sometimes in reaction to your own emotions or to things that you see in society? How do you create, in fact? Where do you take your inspirations?
Inspiration is really broad. It never comes from one source. It comes from everything we see, from the conversation. It's between us. It's a conversation. Fashion itself will often be a source of inspiration. Our position within the fashion world will be a source of inspiration. This sounds very vague, but like for instance, we did a collection that's called Wearable Art, and the idea was to take couture to an extreme where the question arises, can it be art? And we posed that question at the moment when we had stopped our ready-to-wear. So when we stopped ready-to-wear, we asked ourselves, in this context, what does couture mean? Perhaps couture is art. So how do we visualize that? Maybe we visualize it in a very literal way. What is art? Art, is that a painting? Can you wear a painting as a dress? So that was the thinking.
Or another way how to visualize language is that everybody was talking so much about red carpet dressing. It's so important nowadays. And then we just liked that word, and we thought, how can we literally translate that into something visual and create clothes made out of red carpet?
Also on display here.
Yeah,
and the third last example is there was a season where we just felt overwhelmed with the rhythm and the pace of fashion, and we had to design because the factory had to be fed, but we didn't want to. So the word "no" kept popping up. So we were writing "no, no, 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 no," and then we decided to incorporate this word into the clothes, literally having them jump out of the clothes. There's one coat on display here, it's a good example of how we work. Rather than denying those kinds of feelings, we try to work with them and use them.
Does it happen that movies can inspire you?
Not so much, not literally.
Not directly, no.
Or musicians or actors?
Hardly ever. We dedicated one show to Tilda Swinton because we were great friends and we admired her. And at that moment we liked the idea to do something that was more real because we felt that was needed for our ready-to-wear. But then in the show we took that idea to an extreme because we made all the girls made to look like Tilda. So again, it was kind of an abstraction.
Good. We're going to take some questions from the public. Does anyone prepare a question? Oh yeah.
Oh, hey.
In yellow, in the yellow jacket. If you can stand and introduce yourself, please. Don't be shy. You can even come on stage if you want.
Okay, let's not exaggerate. My name is Talel, and I just graduated from RMIT in the fashion design department. And what I'm really curious about is your pattern making process. So my great love is for pattern making, and your patterns are so incredibly complex and 3D, and you use so many like special effects in your patterns, from, I don't know, somehow making those holes into the tulle dresses, or using some very complicated pleating in your designs. And I just wanted to know sort of how did you develop your pattern making system? What sort of rules, I guess, do you have around pattern making? How do they sort of affect your design methodology?
I really like what you say, what you call special effects in pattern making. I really appreciate that. I take that as a compliment. I'll relay it to the head of our team.
The problem, or the challenge is that every season needs its own special effects. That's what our team always tells us. Like the moment they refine it and they have it under control, the season's gone and there's a new one.
But how? Yeah, there's the idea. There's, let's say, the desire to create something, a tulle dress with a hole. Well, that's not so much pattern cutting. That's more dressmaking. But or to create a dress that looks like a gesso sculpture. Yeah, there's the vision, and then there's
But do you always work with patterns, or sometimes you just drape directly on a schlappie or on a living person?
Yeah, or it's a combination. Often it will be a drawing that's translated into a pattern. Does this answer your question? I have the feeling I'm not answering your question.
A lot of designers, they have like a very sort of set sort of design aesthetic that sort of leads them in their pattern cutting. So like with your 3D effects, I don't have a different word to use for it. So with your 3D effects, they sort of come a lot in your work. Well, and I was sort of curious as to what's leading you for what's driving you so much towards this, a lot of surface manipulation and sort of what in your design, I don't know, methodology, I don't have, again, a different word for it, sort of leads you to such surface design elaboration.
I think one good example would be for you the Viktor&Rolf collection, in which you played with the idea of having this 2D fabric which came out.
I would argue that in terms of pattern cutting, that is rather simple. I find that collection that's more of a treatment of the fabric and a way of treating the print. But in terms of pattern, it's not so complicated. I would say the no-coat is rather complicated in terms of pattern cutting. The wearable, the sculpture collection is very complicated. There are things that look really simple that are very complicated.
Thank you, Stella. Mr. in the back.
Hi, Victor. Hi, Rolf.
Hello.
My question is...
What's your name? Sorry.
My name's Nico.
Nico.
Nico. During your career, you've added new silhouettes to the vocabulary of fashion. For example, in the Atom Bomb collection and the Hymn of Love collection. For you both, is changing the perception of the female body a conscious decision in your creative process?
Good question, Nico.
Ik heb het niet goed verstaan.
Of het veranderen van het vrouwenlichaam voor ons, of dat iets is wat we... For us, a garment is often... the garment itself is often the final product. And the body is the support for this final product.
It's much more for us a sculpture, and we work really on the garment as if it were a sculpture, and then of course it needs to be worn, but that's a very flexible...
Do you ever design for... When you design, do you have a certain type of woman in mind, or... Oh.
No, it's really... The garment is a finished product. It's not with a certain type of woman or... Well, no, in mind, no. It's an abstraction.
Is it good, Nico? Yeah, thank you. Another one? Mr. in the back. Are many of you students in fashion or arts here?
I think so.
Can you raise your hand, the ones that are students in fashion and arts? Oh, good, not that many. How many love fashion? Good. How many love NGV? And how many love Viktor&Rolf? Well, good.
Right. Hello, Victor and Rolf. My name's Chris. I was just wondering, I admire your artistic partnership, and I was wondering how you can control being too dominant and allowing the other person and both of you to design in collaboration.
Sorry,
how we try to avoid to be too dominant towards each other, you mean?
Yeah, like in the sense of when designing something, how do you learn to collaborate and design equally besides of one being too dominant than the other?
Yeah, it's so natural for us. It just was never really a question.
No.
It just happens, and we never ever fight. So when we disagree, it just means it's not right yet.
The fact that we don't fight doesn't mean that we always agree. It just means that, yeah, we are not argumentative people, and we're not aggressive. So.
I also admire your friendship and how you communicate in your design aspects. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything you disagree on sometimes?
Yeah, of course.
What?
Of course. Temperature.
When we're in a car, because Victor likes the temperature more cold and I like it more warm. So when we sit in the car, his temperature is much colder than...
He's cold, you're warm. Okay. Well, it's good to know. Other questions? Pink hat.
Thank you. Hi, my name's Maddie.
What is it, sorry?
Maddie.
Maddie?
And I was just wondering if you have any muses or any favorite models you like to work with?
Muses,
Not
favorite models?
No, not really. We, as we said, the work is for us finished when when it's finished for us. And of course, when we do a show, we have people who help us selecting the models and the casting agent, and that really differs per season.
Thank you. Just behind. Yes, you with your haze.
Hi, my name's Saiwai. Thank you for bringing out this exhibition. First of all, it's amazing.
Thank you.
I want to ask about the dynamic between the two of you. I could actually ask the really naughty question of what drives you nuts about each other, but it might tend to a therapy session. So instead, I'd like to ask, what do you admire most? Sorry?
He never carries any money.
Oh, okay.
That is so untrue.
It's because I asked you. It's because I asked you before.
That's true. He asked me to take some money.
But what skills do you admire the most about each other?
What skills we admire the most?
Most about each other. What do you think the other half brings to the equation?
Well, the thing is, we feel our partnership is such a mystery, even for us, that we never really want to.
No, we never really want to analyze or verbalize it too much because, yeah.
It can kill the magic, so better to, you know.
Best not to ask.
Sorry.
There's another one in the back who seems to be a bit shy.
Hello, my name is Marissa. I'm a groupie. I've loved you since I was a child. Thank you for coming to Melbourne. Could you please tell us a bit about the dollhouse exhibit at the Barbican and how that came about?
Well, thank you, Marissa, for that compliment. The exhibition at the Barbican was a retrospective exhibition in 2008, and we wanted to create something new where we wanted to show that all of our work to us is like one. And we, at that time, thought the best way to do that was to miniaturize everything and present it as a doll's house. In a nutshell. And so, ever since then, we have continued making dolls. So every season, we'll make 1 or 2 or 3 dolls with the most iconic looks of that season. And I think it's because we are fascinated by time in a way that's almost anti-fashion. We like to cherish ideas, and we think it's a pity to throw away something that is perhaps worthwhile keeping. And the dolls are an example of that. And another example is the tapestries that we have made, especially for this exhibition. The tapestries depict press clippings, and press clippings are like the news of the day, but a tapestry is meant to last. So that paradox is, we find interesting, and it's the same with the dolls.
But also timepiece.
Timepiece, yes.
Tell us what is timepiece.
What's that? Sorry?
Timepiece.
Well, on display, you will see a very big clock, and one of the dolls is coming alive, and every 15 minutes she will appear and do her catwalk.
It's very nice. It's been commissioned by NGV, just done for NGV. Mr. Johan?
Hi there, my name is Ernest Schultheis. I guess my question is an extension of the pattern making question. You do create very pattern-intensive garments, and I just wanted to know how you react to companies such as Vetmol, for example.
Such as, sorry?
Brands such as Vetmol react to brands such as Vetmol, who create very pattern-simple garments, but for couture prices.
I don't know this company. What's the name?
I wouldn't know how to.
That answers my question.
I don't know the brand you mentioned.
Oh, do you know, that's perfect actually, because the question was in reference to, there's a lot of hype regarding Vetmol, printed hoodies, oversized, very simple in their workmanship, but you create garments that are so complex and beautiful. And I feel like sometimes people are overlooking that because they are more interested by something that a celebrity has worn, which just got a brand name on it with no actual substance.
I guess the simple answer is we don't really like simple things. We like complexity in all its forms, and we like things to be multi-layered and mysterious, and the complicated, the better.
Thank you. Next to you? Yes? Excuse me?
So I would just like to add that we also think that technique always serves the idea. So it's never about being brilliant for brilliance sake.
Hi, I'm Hayley, and I'm about to graduate from studying fashion. So I guess my question is, what advice would you give to me as a start-out designer just about to graduate?
We would say, you know, try to make something that nobody else is doing, and try to be as original as possible, and follow your own path.
Follow that advice. In the back.
Hey, I'm Kate. Your work is so sculptural and artistic and conceptual. What is it about fashion that means you can only express yourself in fashion? Why not just be artists, or do you know what I mean? Limit yourself to fashion.
I've never wanted to be anything else than a fashion designer. It's just that I think together we stretch the limits of what that can be, and we're still stretching. But yeah, I never wanted to be anything else. Having said that, we have worked in all different kinds of media, but the subject is always fashion. Fashion, we just find it fascinating.
Thank you. Just there, red, in red, yes, thank you. Nice quote.
Thank you. Hello. My name's Stephanie. I too am a graduating designer. I've had a question about your bridal collection that you've just recently launched. It is the silhouette and cuts very different to the extremities of Viktor&Rolf typically. How have you taken your inspiration and your sort of signature look into those development of those garments?
Well, first of all, we started doing wedding dresses because we've always loved doing wedding dresses. They were always a part of our collections. There would always be one or two. We made the wedding dress the center of the collection we designed for H&M more than 10 years ago. And the idea of a wedding being hopefully like a one-time experience in your life appeals to us, because that makes a wedding dress sort of like a couture garment. It's a one-off piece. So that is why we like wedding dresses. And this particular collection, we wanted to be sculptural, like the pieces on display here, but in a less extreme way. Of course, we wanted them to be wearable, but sculptural was a key word.
Thank you. Just take one last question. Someone? Oh yeah, in the back, completely in the back. Yeah, that's you.
Good evening, my name is Elizabeth Mead, and what no one has asked at this point is when you have your show, after all the hard work of how you mentioned about time management and all the time and effort that you pour into the preparation to your show, what's the highlight for you with the show, and how do you spend your time after the show? I can imagine that would be...
Sorry, I cannot hear you.
Can you speak closer to the microphone?
Sure.
And please speak very slowly, because there's acoustic is terrible here.
When you do your show, what's the highlight for you when you have the show with all the preparation and everything that goes into your designs and having everything ready? What's the highlight for you during your show? And the second question I have is what's the snapshot to come for us?
What's the?
The snapshot. The snapshot of what's to come, what's to look forward to for your next show.
That's a secret.
Ja, dat is...
Eerste vraag heb ik niet.
No, but what's your favorite part of the show?
Wat is voor ons hoogtepunt bij een show? Wat vinden we het leukste? De line-up.
Oh, yeah.
The line-up.
They disagree sometimes, huh?
No. No, it's always a high to see the line-up of all the models right before the show. So not even the show itself, because we never witness it. We're always backstage. But to see all the finished garments on beautiful girls with the hair and the makeup. Let's say the finished look. That's always a very beautiful moment. Yeah. And it's also the moment before the judgment, let's say. So it's still sort of free.
And you won't know about the next collection.
Yeah, we can't say anything, sorry.
Well, thank you very much, everybody, for coming. I hope you enjoyed your talk and conversation with the great Viktor&Rolf, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will be in around 5-10 minutes just over here to sign this beautiful catalog edited by yours truly, which is me. For this, I would really love to thank, this is published by the NGV, they do really great books. It's cheap, you have to buy it, but no, honestly, I have to thank just a couple of people. If you can just stay with us. I would like really to thank Miranda Wallace, who introduced us. If you can just give a round of applause. But also, all the team who made this possible, Jasmine, Mark, Dirk. And one last thing, I know that there's a lot of people who worked on the exhibition that are here tonight, and I feel really bad because I have not had time to have a group picture. So please, if I can just ask everybody who worked at NGV to come on stage to have a group picture with us. Don't be embarrassed because I cannot leave without having my group shot. So, but you can also applaud them because this is a great team. It's a lot of people, so we'll make some space. Do you need this? No? Any shy people? No? Anybody? Yeah, please, come. Oh, you can do it? Okay, thank you. But come closer. Here, on the other side. Ingrid. Just go between. Yeah. Move this way a bit. Nina, you have to come on stage.
Yeah, Nina.
No, Nina. Nina is the director of communication of Viktor&Rolf. She's just there and she's fantastic. She has to come on stage. Thank you, team. You're great. And thank you very much, everyone, for coming tonight. Thank you.
Brilliant. Conversation.